The ABA Women's War, 1929. When African women challenged the British Empire, 1929, something extraordinary happened in colonial Nigeria. NO guns were fired by the rebels. NO soldiers marched into battle. Yet the British Empire was brought to its knees. This is the true story of how thousands of Igbo women, armed with nothing but their voices, unity, and courage, shut down colonial rule in eastern Nigeria. This was not a protest. This was a war. History remembers it as the ABA Women's War. Why the early 1900s, Nigeria was under British colonial rule. The British governed indirectly, using local men called warrant chiefs, many of whom were corrupt, unqualified, and unfamiliar with Igbo traditions. In Igbo society, women had political power. They held assemblies, influenced decisions, and could discipline leaders through a traditional system called sitting on a man. But the British ignored this system. They taxed men heavily. They forced labor. And then, in 1929, rumors spread like wildfire. The British were planning to tax women. For the women of eastern Nigeria, this crossed a sacred line. Everything changed in the town of Oloko, near ABA. A colonial agent ordered a local woman named Nwanyerwa to count her goats, her palm trees, and her household. She understood immediately. This was preparation for taxation. Nwanyerwa refused and confronted the agent. There, argument escalated. Voices rose, insults were exchanged, and the news spread across villages. By evening, women were beating drums. By morning, the land was awake. Within days, over 10,000 women from different towns and clans mobilized. They came from ABA, Owerri, Calabar, and surrounding regions. They marched barefoot for miles. They sang war songs. They danced. They mocked corrupt warrant chiefs. They surrounded courthouses and government offices. This was traditional warfare, nonviolent, psychological, and relentless. They demanded an end to women's taxation, the removal of corrupt chiefs, respect for Igbo customs. Colonial officials were stunned. They had never seen anything like this. The British panicked. Instead of listening, they sent armed troops at places like Apobo, ABA, and Owerri. Soldiers opened fire on unarmed women. By the end of the uprising, over 50 women were killed, hundreds were injured, villages were thrown into mourning, but something irreversible had happened. The silence was broken. Despite the bloodshed, the women won. The British abandoned plans to tax women, removed several warrant chiefs, reformed the colonial court system, recognized women in local governance for the first time. Colonial administrators admitted they misunderstood African society. The empire retreated, not because of weapons, but because of women. The ABA Women's War became a blueprint. It inspired later Nigerian independence movements, women-led resistance across Africa, global feminist struggles. Yet it was almost erased from history. Colonial records called it a riot. But Africans know the truth. It was a war for dignity. When people say African women were silent in history, remember this. They once shook the British Empire with unity, tradition, and courage. The ABA Women's War was not fought with bullets. It was fought with voices that refused to be silenced. Please do well to subscribe and share my channel for more videos. Drop any other stories you would like to hear next. Thank you.